Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Braden, Tim, Second Legacy. You are amazing. And what are we going to do today? Oh, we're going to talk about something really incredible. I thought it was one thing, but it turns out it's even better. Now it's national reciprocity. Tim, what would you do with national reciprocity? That's what I want to think about. I want you to think about while I'm finishing this intro. Because, guys, if you want that freedom, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on, because we're delivering humor and sarcasm for the 2A and freedoms everywhere. So, do yourself a favor. Just join the party. So, Tim, I wrapped up the intro while I was doing it. What do you think about the idea? If we had national reciprocity, how would you feel? Explain to me your heart pumpings.
Well, I want to know exactly what the proposal is, because what I do not want a federal licensing scheme. I don't,
Okay.
right? So I don't want that. And
Okay.
I don't understand forced reciprocity. I mean, it makes certain sense, but why not go a step further and just make the entire nation constitutional carry? Right?
That
So
would
then
check
you don't
out.
have to force reciprocity. You force the states to honor the rights of the American citizens that already exist. So I'm not into licensing schemes. I'm not into carrying cards. I don't want to go to the government and ask for permission to exercise my rights. So if they can accomplish this without doing that or paying a tax for the privilege, if they can accomplish it without doing any of that and just, call it by a different name, but give us constitutional carry, I'm all on board. Or if it's even as simple, I'll even accept we're just going to force the states to recognize other states' licenses and permits, kind of like what we do with driver's licenses.
Boom.
Right?
All right. So
I would
you're going to like where this is going.
Just don't impose a national licensing scheme.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. Well, let's hear what Trump has to say about national reciprocity, and then we'll kind of walk you through the pros, cons of each one of those things, because I think you guys are going to like what he's about to say, because it aligned very closely with the second part of Tim's little thing right there. Let's get it.
Seventh, I will protect the right of self-defense everywhere it is under siege, and I will sign concealed carry reciprocity. Your Second Amendment does not end at the state line.
And that's it. It's a very short statement. That aligns with the second thing you said.
Yep, that does. It seems to align. Now, keep in mind, that's a very short statement. We don't know what's being proposed. We don't know. And what he's talking about, folks, isn't some unilateral action he's going to take through executive action. He wants to sign a bill, meaning he's imploring the House and the Senate to draft a bill. Now, that's where things can go awry. What Trump is asking for may not be what Congress comes up with, because the Senate may come up with a bill, send it to the House, they'll mark it up, or vice versa, and you'll wind up with a licensing scheme and a taxation scheme. And that's what we don't want. So don't get too excited about this until we see the bills that are proposed, and then we can become, active politically and say, oh, nope, you got to change this.
See, that's where I think it's so interesting. And guys, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed or you're sharing for the first time, please hit that subscribe button and pay attention to the videos that we put out around this kind of stuff, because where we're going right now into 4 years of really the short term 2 years, you're going into a trifecta control with Republicans on Trump's last term. He just said he wanted national reciprocity. To Tim's point, and this is why the subscription and being aware of what's going on is so important, you have to be not only happy with what Trump just said, because what he said just now, that statement was a good statement, but how does it translate directly into the bills? Because you've got rhinos, you've got Democrats who put in poison pills, you have rhinos who put in to actually make it worse nationally. These bills, a big part of the battle is not just Trump said it, which is great. It's also how it translates down to these little Congress critters. That's why we pay attention to the things we pay attention to. And when this bill drops, we will dive into, hey guys, this is great, this is shit. Because I guarantee you, and Tim, you can back me or push back on this, I guarantee you they will have crap in this bill initially in the first draft where we're like, what's even the point? Would you agree?
And keep in mind, folks, we just had this discussion in a previous video. The Scotts and the Cornyn's of the world aren't your friends in the Senate, and they would embrace potentially stupid ideas, right? So we have to stay on top of this issue. We can't just assume that what Trump says here is what's going to happen. We most definitely have to pay close attention to the bills that are being proposed and be very vocal and send those emails and make those phone calls if they start to propose things that simply don't make sense. And where I draw the line, as I've already said, is some sort of a national licensing scheme with a taxation scheme attached to it. Either one of those are a non-starter for me, especially if they're combined. So, yeah.
Well, and that makes total sense, because that's kind of where they would go. If they were going to be if you're going to look at this from a negative lens really quickly, I don't like doing it, but I'm just saying in a hypothetical. If you look at where they could go wrong on this, it could be something like that. Yeah, you have concealed carry national reciprocity, but in order to do that, you have to pay this fine, or you have to pay this tax, or you have to pay this certain thing to where you get into a different criteria. what it should be, clear and cut, a one-page bill that literally says all state concealed carries apply to all other state concealed carry. It's one sentence, but it's not going to be one sentence. It's going to be 47 pages or 400 pages all to say that. Now, Tim, if you are talking about this from a standpoint of national reciprocity, I think that you have a very good barometer. No overreaching federal control. Let it be at the state level, and let's basically force states to recognize other states. So what's so powerful about that, if you're going from a Florida, which has a more relaxed concealed carry scheme, to a New York, well, New York immediately loses because all the control that they clamp down on goes away because Florida, you're bringing guns in through their concealed carry. It's a big deal. What he just said, if it happens as he just said, that's a big win. I mean, that's a big one.
So it's also it's important, folks, that we understand the nature of this discussion. So I'm going to read something to you. The full faith and credit clause of the United States Constitution requires states to honor the laws, records, and judicial proceedings of other states. This includes respecting licenses and permits issued by other states. So the law is already on the books. My Indiana concealed carry permit, which is now constitutional carry, but you can still opt to get a printed card. So if you do go into other states, they'll honor your permit that have reciprocity. The law already exists that says states are supposed to honor other states' licenses and permits. What we need Congress to do is say, hey, states, respect the Constitution. That's all we need. That's all we need.
That's very, very true. But from a standpoint of practicality, what this would mean, guys, is if you have a concealed carry in one state, you can go to the next one and you're not going to have different rules. So all those stories we've seen from New Hampshire going into Massachusetts, and all of a sudden they're going to prison for 20 years because the rules are different and the concealed carry was different and they don't have to recognize it. All of that stuff would be gone. And that's the benefit of what he's talking about right there. So to protect from the naysayers on this, they would say, not on our side, on the other side, they would say, oh my God, you're just going to have constitutional carry everywhere. No, there's no checks and no background checks and no this, that, and the other, because that's where they're going to go. They're going to go to, oh, so Florida doesn't have background checks on your concealed carry, so you just want to go ahead and say no background checks to carry guns in the whole United States. Cool. And that'll be the push. I guarantee you that'll be the defense. So it doesn't even make sense on any level. If you have it's not like constitutional carry from Georgia or from Florida, and you can go into New York without a permit. You have to actually have a state level permit for concealed carry, and then you take that permit to other states. It's not constitutional carry, and it's not no background checks BS, which they're going to say. It's literally that carry that the state knows. Just so
and also keep in mind that 28 states have constitutional carry. The one I live in,
I think 29 now.
Are we up to 29? So
I think
those states don't require a permit. So all that would be required theoretically would be to prove citizenship of the state that you reside in that has constitutional carry. So your driver's license. If you're driving through Illinois and you have an Indiana permit and you're carrying a firearm and a cop harasses you in a gas station, you just show your Indiana permit, which is your driver's license, saying, hey, I'm a citizen of Indiana. I have a constitutional right to carry. And then they have to, bugger off, which they should anyway.
Bugger off. I like that. That's good. Bugger off.
It's a very dirty saying, but it's so kind because it's British in nature. So
it's exactly. So you say with a fancy thing, it is 29 states, by the way. Good
29 states. So there you go. Right. So, but keep in mind, like states like Indiana do issue permits for those of us that want to have a permit. Like mine's, I have a lifetime permit from back in the day when we did licensing. But it's like a credit card, so I just keep it in my wallet. I don't need it, especially in my home state. But if I go down to Tennessee, I may want to have the card in case they ask for a permit. But that all needs to go away. Just being an American citizen gives you a right to carry a firearm in the United States, and that's where we're moving with this.
Oh, we are slowly moving. In fact, you have a little more experience in kind of wrapping this. This is kind of a last thing, and Dr. Slides has had the map up for the last few minutes of this discussion of how hard right the shift in our national electorate went on the political. We're winning this fight, guys. It is literally moving in our direction hard. But to your point, Tim, it was in the 80s was the initial push for constitutional or not concealed carry permits, right? It started at concealed carry permits through the NRA, and then they got preemption in, and that was the big 80s and 90s push. And then from there, it went across the whole nation, and then we started to get to constitutional carry, right? That's the progression.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, there was a big movement in the 80s and 90s, like the Lubbies in Texas incident. That was made national news, which started a national discussion. Then Florida, of course, having a major crime wave. They tried everything under the sun to rectify that and send it back the other direction and get the crime rate down. And out of desperation, they passed a concealed carry law. And lo and behold, violent crime plummeted in the state, and all the other states are like, "What? That works? We're not going to have running gun battles in the streets." And then all the other states started seriously looking at it. And as more data was collected and more states started to adopt their own licensing programs, then other states were like, yeah, man, look, half the country's done it and they're doing just fine. Their crime's going down. We got to do this too.
Right.
So even liberal states did it. Like progressive left-leaning states did it. And the last holdout was Illinois, and they were drug kicking and screaming through the courts, and they were forced to do it. And so
that's where may issue versus shall issue came out. That was what the response was: may issue versus shall issue. And look how that worked out with the Bruin decision. I mean, guys, that's been a hell of a 40 years.
It's been an incremental, and this is what I always tell people, like, we're not going to get our gun rights back in one fell swoop. As nice as that would be, it's not how this works. So we have to take the incremental wins and take advantage of that win to catapult us to the next win. And that's what we've done with protecting our Second Amendment rights in the last 20, 30 years here in the United States. And it's working. And so we just need to keep that progression going.
Keep going, baby. Yep. But yeah, that's that, though.
Brandon Herrera for ATF director.
That would be the greatest thing.
That would be so funny.
Thing ever. Oh my God.
Watching him go in there like a wrecking ball.
I would text him every day. I'd be like, hey, buddy, what's on the docket for the day?
How many anti-gun agents did you send packing? All right. So. Like, there's nobody at McDonald's. Here you go. Bye-bye.
He puts together a task force to she breaks into people's homes and makes sure they have guns.
Yeah. And if they don't have one, they'll leave one with them.
They leave one. They just put one right there, just in case, guys. You weren't there. You didn't have one.
Socialism we can get behind. All right, folks. Thank you for watching Second Legacy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.